Hi, I'm Kathy Mercado, and today I'm going to be discussing the Wiat 3. The Wiat is a norm reference test that is designed to measure the academic achievement of students in pre-K through 12th grade. It measures all areas specified by IDEA for identifying and classifying learning disabilities. There are many different pieces to the Wiat, so let's take a look. So first we have the examiner's manual. This explains how to administer, score, and interpret the assessment, including scoring rules and scoring examples. Next is the stimulus book. This is a flip-up book that stands up. The student is going to look at this side and answer questions during different subtests. There's also a student response booklet, and this is where the student's writing will be done, including essays and the numerical operations. This is the record form, which is the scoring booklet used by the assessor. They're going to fill in the student information along the top here, along with background information, all contained on the front of the booklet. The assessment contains 16 subtests that include math, reading, and writing. Typically, there's 6 subtests that are chosen for the student. The most frequently used subtests are reading comprehension, decoding, essay composition for grades 3rd grade and above, spelling, and numerical operations, along with math word problems. So each of those subtests, the scores are going to be recorded right here on the front of the form. Next is the oral reading fluency booklet, and this includes the reading passages that will be used during the assessment. There's also word cards, and as you can see, there's 3 columns of words here, and it starts with the easiest words. Students are going to read across from left to right, and as they work down the page, the words get more difficult. There's also the scoring workbook, right here. And this contains all the rules for alphabet fluency, sentence composition, and essay composition. There's also the scoring assistant, and this guides the assessor to put in all the scores from the subtests, and then the software takes that information to create the statistical analysis to provide standardized scores. When administering the Wiat to a student, the assessment area needs to have good lighting. It needs to be located in a quiet area that's free from distractions. The assessor should be seated where they can see the back of the stimulus book, while the student can see the front. The stimulus book can also be used to block the record form from the student that's being assessed. The assessor should take a relaxed approach when administering the assessment, along with establishing and maintaining rapport with the student to ease anxiety. The assessor needs to read exactly what is stated in the booklet and follow the directions. They also need to refrain from using terms such as correct or good job. When using the stimulus book, the front of the book should be faced at the student, and there's tabs at the bottom, you can see here, and they say things such as math problem solving or reading comprehension. The assessor would just flip to that when giving that subtest. On certain pages, there's pictures for the student to look at while answering the question. On the record form, the assessor will determine the basal and ceiling levels. When talking about basal, it's where the assessor starts the student assessment at grade level. For instance, if the student is in 5th grade, start with the 5th grade level. Do not go back to the 4th grade or up to the 6th grade level. When you're at the starting point, the assessor is looking for 3 consecutive right answers. And once the student gets that, the assessor can assume that the student is going to get all the prior grade level content correct. And this gives the student's basal level. It's also important to find the ceiling. And this is where the assessor is able to determine that the student is not going to be able to go much further and get correct answers. Once a student has given 4 incorrect responses, the subtest is over, and the assessor moves on to a different subtest. This could be 4 zeros or don't knows in a row, and that is when the subtest is over. Later, when you have that done, you're going to put all the scores of your subtest right on the front of this booklet. When it comes to the writing portion, the student is going to use the response booklet. An example may ask the student to combine 2 sentences into one. And when that happens, the 2 sentences will be listed at the top of the page and go down from there. But after the 2 sentences, lines are provided for the student to write the response to put those 2 sentences into one. And when they're asked to write an essay, the essay prompt is going to be at the top of the page with lines given below to complete the essay. There's also a blank page on the left for the student to be able to brainstorm if they want to on what they want to write their essay about. The student is given a total of 10 minutes to complete the essay writing of the proportion. The essay writing proportion. The writing samples on this are more complicated to score because the assessor is going to look at different things. They're going to look at semantics, grammar, the mechanics, and there's also extra credit. The scoring book can also be helpful for the assessor when looking at the writing samples. Numerical operations take place in this response booklet, and the math problems are right in the book, so the student does the operations right in the booklet. It's important that the assessor watches the student throughout the process. This way, they can see when the student reaches the basal level. And remember, that is when the student gets 3 correct answers in a row. The assessor always will start a student out at grade level, like I said before, and this helps create the basal level. This is really important, and it's also important for the assessor to watch the student to see when they get 4 consecutive incorrect answers in a row, because that's when the subtest is stopped. The Wiat 3 is used to qualify students for special education services. The school psychologist is part of this process and will do some psych evaluations on the student and usually find their IQ score. Then the psychologist is looking for discrepancy between the IQ and the academic achievement of the student. If a discrepancy is found, that is when it is determined that there is a specific learning disability. The Wiat usually qualifies students under the specific learning disability or SLD category, and then they qualify for special education services. This is an overview of the Wiat 3 and how it works. Thank you for listening.